All right, guys, it is Monday, August 6th, and this is our Team Liberate call. We have an awesome guest speaker on our call tonight. Her name is Michelle. And Michelle, actually, as I'm saying this, I'm realizing that I thought I had asked you earlier and I didn't. I was going to ask you just about like some of your stats and like, how long you've been a coach and that sort of thing. So obviously you can share that with us. But Michelle and I have gotten to know each other really well. She actually lives in the Boston area, so we are often at like the same Super Saturdays. We've hung out before at the New Leadership Conference in LA and in Mexico at the Success Club trip. So we've seen each other a whole bunch, and we've kind of helped each other in our businesses. And so I thought she would be a perfect person to share with us some of the things that she feels that she does well in the business, like her leadership and, creating that team culture like I had told you guys about. So I'm going to let you take it over, Michelle. But if you guys have any questions, feel free to write your questions in the chat or unmute yourself and just kind of pop in. I think that would be okay with you, Michelle, right?
Yes, absolutely. Feel free. Very laid back about stuff.
Yeah, perfect. We are too.
Awesome. So thank you, Brooke. I'm excited to be joining you guys tonight. It's so hot, right? Boston was crazy today. I don't know how many of you guys are local, but it's a crazy. We just have some like window units for air conditioners. So I had the window unit going like really strong, but it's really loud. So I turned it off now. So hopefully I won't like have a heat stroke in a little while, but for the time being, it's a good temperature. So thank you to Brooke. And I also just want to say Brooke has been, I think Brooke is amazing. I really look up to her in the business. I followed her so much, since I joined as a coach. And you guys are, as you all know, in very good hands with her. So you're welcome. So anyway, so Brooke said she wants me to do a little introduction because I didn't send her some of my stats. I don't like going over like stats and stuff, but I've been a coach for a little bit over 2 years now. I'm a lifetime 2-star, 3-star qualifying, but I didn't quite make that qualification, but hopefully soon. And a Success Club All-Star. I don't know what other stats there are, but I think those are my stats. So so I wanted to talk to you guys about leadership and building leaders and building a team culture. But just to quickly go over who I am a little more in my story. I guess the progression of Beachbody began about. The progression, kind of how this all came to be, probably about 5 years ago when my son was born. So I have a little boy. His name is Lucas. He just turned 5 this summer. He is amazing. But of course, probably a lot of you have experienced, if you are parents, your life really changes when you become a parent and when you become a mom. And it was an amazing time, but it was also a really hard time. And I was on my own. So my partner was actually living in Brazil. We had been in Brazil together. I came back when I was pregnant, and then he pretty much lived there until Lucas was almost 2 years old. So I was essentially, a single mom for a couple of years. I was working full time. I used to work in the international development and human rights field. So I did a lot of social justice work. I know some of you guys are in Boston. So I worked for Oxfam for 10 years. I loved that work, and I was very passionate about it, but I was super, super burned out at that point. And there were a lot of politics going on. And it was a whole different ballgame, after becoming a mom and having a child at home, who didn't really sleep. And it was just a struggle. It was really a struggle, for a couple of years. And so the last thing in the world that was happening was self-care or any kind of exercise or kind of, healthy lifestyle, really. Right. And that was something that had always been a big part of my life. It was never anything that I had done professionally, but exercise and eating healthy and nutrition was something that was always really important to me, and really something actually that my parents introduced me to from a very young age. And because it was just something that was very important in their lives also. And those tools and having that a part of my life really helped me throughout the course of my life to get through stuff, and to deal with stress, and just to feel better, to improve confidence and all of these things. And so it was something that was always really important to me. And all of a sudden I found myself, basically at a point where it was impossible for me to do any of these things, to get to the gym, just to get outside, to go for a run, to do anything, to go to a yoga class, to kind of do any of these things that had become really important pieces of my life. And so I was struggling. I didn't feel like myself. I felt very sort of isolated, and I felt like I was drowning all the time, honestly. And it was just, again, I was thrilled to be a mom and love my little boy more than anything in the world, but it was a really, really hard time. And so around this time, I opened an Instagram account. I didn't even have Instagram before, but a couple of friends were not on Facebook, but they had Instagram, and they were like, Michelle, you need to get with the times. You need to get on Instagram because we need to see pictures of Lucas. And so that was the only reason why I ended up signing up for Instagram. I opened an account so that I could, post some pictures of Lucas so that friends of mine could see him who were not on Facebook. And then, from there, somehow I don't know if it was through searching or something just popped up, or I don't know, but I kind of stumbled upon different fitness accounts, right? And of course, as we all know very, very well now, like there's a lot of fitness stuff on Instagram, and there's a lot of like moms, doing fitness kind of stuff. And so I found all of this, and it really, it was really inspiring, and it really, not only was it inspiring, but it really kind of gave me hope. Like that's kind of the best way that I can say it, is it gave me hope. Like I didn't necessarily need the motivation. I had the motivation. I didn't have like the time. I didn't have the ability to be doing it. And this kind of gave me hope. Like, maybe there is a way for me to do this. Like maybe I can still be a mom and still, work out and feel good about myself and have energy. Like I was so exhausted, and I saw people, with energy and having fun and being with friends. And so I just followed these accounts for a while. And, some of them were Beachbody accounts, some of them were not. But I did start following like a few Beachbody coaches, one of them being my coach, Marie Sardelli Ottaway, who I think a lot of you know, maybe not all of you. And I just, I loved her. I mean, because she's so real. And so I was just very drawn to her. Like I thought she was hilarious, as she is. I thought she was kind of crazy, as she is, in a great way. But I was just like, what is this girl? I didn't even really understand what she was doing. But she was very intriguing. She was really funny. She was like, do all these size videos, dancing around her living room, and all these crazy handstands and all that, and so I was intrigued, and I was following her, and I found it very interesting. And so I actually friended her on Facebook at one point. I'm not sure when that was, but I friended her on Facebook, and that's when she kind of did reach out to me and start some conversations. And of course I said no. I didn't want to spend any money. I said no for months and months and months. I'm not sure how long I said no for, but I did follow Marie for about a year before I actually ended up signing up with her. So that's always really interesting, right? Really important for all of us to remember, myself included, because none of us like to hear those no's, but that's where most of us started, is the reality of it. And so it was around March of 2016, because I signed up, I think it was like the end of April. So it was like March or April of 2016 when I just was like at the end of my rope, kind of. I just was feeling really desperate. It dawned on me that Lucas would be turning 3 years old in June. And I was like, I still don't have it together. I still haven't lost the baby weight, but even more importantly than that, I don't know where Michelle went. Like, I don't feel like myself at all anymore. I feel like I totally, lost myself and all of these things that were so important to me, and, just had crazy anxiety and all of these things. So I saw one of Marie's posts, and she said at the end of it, she just kind of mentioned like, my next challenge starts on Monday. And I reached out to her like right away. I was so ready at that point. And, you know, we always hear that also, right? Like sometimes it's just not the right time for people and they need to, you know, they need to wait until it's the right time. And we don't want to push people into anything either because, you know, some people start at the wrong time and then they don't follow through. But so it wasn't, you know, the right time for me before that. But then like I knew it was time and I had done my research. I had done tons of research on Shakeology because I was totally skeptical about it. And I actually was still breastfeeding. I breastfed for a long time. So I, you know, really had to do my due diligence and make sure that, you know, what Lucas, because it wasn't just going into my body, it was going into Lucas's body as well. So I did a lot of research. And so when I was ready, you know, and I reached out to her. I signed up right away. And I started as a challenger and like within a couple of days, I was completely sold. I loved it. Like I felt amazing. I mean, I know I'm like preaching to the choir. You guys all know what I'm talking about. But I felt like better than I had felt in almost 3 years of kind of like trying to get back into things. And I love the community. So it wasn't just the program and the Shakeology that was making me feel better. And like I was seeing changes in my body in 1 week that I hadn't seen, you know, in almost 3 years, right? It was crazy to me. And I had been so skeptical about the 30-minute workouts from home and about the Shakeology and about, you know, all of these sort of hesitations that probably a lot of us had and that so many people who we speak with have. But you know, it was amazing, you know, how much it helped me. And so I reached out again to Marie, probably like a week or two into the challenge group. And I told her that I wanted to know more about coaching. Because I love the community. Like I fell in love with everything. Like it was, I loved it. And I needed that so much at that time in my life. You know, I craved something like that so much and it was so good for me. So I just wanted to dive in and we had a call. I signed up as a coach. And I really believe that, you know, kind of the stars aligned and everything happens for a reason. Brooke, I don't even know if you know this part, like the story, but I, 1 week after I signed up as a coach, I was actually laid off and, you know, I had really wanted to get out of that job actually for a while. I mean, again, as much as like there were things about it I loved, very passionate about the mission, but I was really burned out. It was becoming like very toxic and unhealthy for me at that point. And I wanted out, but I was like, I don't know how I'm ever going, you know, I'm already working full time. I'm already on my own with a baby. I'm already not getting any sleep. Like, when am I going to find the time to search for a job, to interview for a job, to kind of like get any of that together? And so I felt really, you know, really kind of trapped and overwhelmed. And I wanted to do something different. I knew that I wanted to do something now that I was a mom where I did have more flexibility in my schedule. And I wanted to do something related to wellness, but I didn't know, you know, how I would do that. You know, how would I go through some certification that was going to end up taking, you know, all of this time away from Lucas, and how was I going to afford that? And how was, you know, there were all of these questions. So anyway, this all just kind of happened like magically at the perfect time. You know, I found the opportunity, I fell in love with it, I signed up, and then I got laid off. And, it was, I mean, now I would say like, it's actually one of the best things that ever happened to me, even though then of course it didn't I knew like it was good, but of course it still didn't feel that good. But I'm really glad that it happened because, you know, it pushed me into this even more. And because even though I was burned out, I was also comfortable at the job. And I think I probably never, or not for a long time, like wouldn't have taken upon myself to kind of leave on my own. So, but I was there actually for 6 months. Even though I was laid off, I still had like 6 months there. So I was still working full time there for 6 months, but I knew that I had like those 6 months also to go really hard and try to really focus on building my business. So jumped in. I did get to Diamond in 6 weeks. But then honestly, like my business just kind of stalled after that. It was, you know, I had only discount coaches, right? I didn't have any leaders at that point at all. I didn't have any business builders. You know, I didn't have a team. I mean, I was Diamond ranked, but I didn't have any kind of team at all. And so honestly, like I kind of spent the next year just trying to like add coaches as fast as they were quitting. You know, I really wasn't growing at all. And I didn't have anyone running with me at all. And it was frustrating. Like, it definitely felt like an uphill battle, you know, for a while, even though I was still loving it, but it was hard to kind of gain that traction. And probably close to a year in, I finally did start getting some business builders and some strong leaders. And I think that, you know, in retrospect, like, I did have a few people who joined who were interested prior, you know, to these new business builders, but I think, I didn't know. I was nervous to kind of jump in and train them, or I was too, you know, I wasn't acting like a leader, right? I mean, I would like throw them in Marie's group or something, but like, I wasn't really showing up as a leader. I wasn't doing anything to create my own team. And then they fell off very quickly. So I changed that when I started getting a few people. I changed that and I decided, you know what, like, I have a few runners, like, I need to step up now. Like, now it's time for me to create my own team page, create, you know, a team message thread. And, you know, as much as I was kind of nervous about that and nervous about taking on that leadership role, like, I knew that that would be a good thing and that I needed to be doing it. So Brooke, I did, I put together like a little PowerPoint. Can I share that? Okay. How do I do this? Share screen. Does that work? Can you guys see that? Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I can see it.
Never done this before like this. Okay. So where are we? Yeah. So basically, I mean, as you guys all know, and as I was just saying, I mean, we need to be building leaders in order to really build a successful and sustainable Beachbody coaching business. It's not just about, you know, getting like huge Success Club numbers and, you know, selling a lot of challenge packs. I mean, that can be great if you are really doing a great job with them, getting them results, getting them to fall in love with it and converting them, you know, over to coaches. But sometimes that's not happening. Sometimes it's just too much, you know, to manage. And so, you know, what's really important is, of course, like what Pat and the Real Ones always talk about, right, is kind of like finding like 3 to 5 really strong leaders and building deep. And, you know, it's also not just about kind of gaining followers or growing followers or inspiring people, but it's really about building, like empowering people to become leaders in their own right and, you know, go out and grow their own teams. Because you don't just want a lot of people who are following you. That's not, I mean, that's going to end up being a lot of work on you, and you're just going to have to, you know, you're kind of going to still be in it on your own, right? So that's what's going to really, you know, build depth in your business and create that ripple effect and have, you know, to have that duplication and build a long-term sustainable business. So I wanted to do a really quick little activity with you guys about vision and belief, and have you guys reflect on the type of team that you want to develop. You know, like you might say, oh my, you know, you want business builders, and where are the business builders? And you want to have this great team, and, you know, you want to build an income, but like, what does that look like to you? And maybe you guys, maybe we can take a minute, and you can, if you want to, stick it in the chat or unmute yourself for a minute if anyone wants to chime in. If you take a minute to do that. Except I don't know how to see the chat box from here, but how do I do that? Brooke, can you see the chat box?
If you go to the top and you click exit full screen, it minimizes it back a little bit, and you can see the bottom where it has like all the little icons. The chat box is there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's when it's in full screen. I don't think it allows you to see anything else.
Okay, I see it, but no one said anything.
I can chat. So you want us to share like what kind of community we're building?
Yeah.
So I hope that it's, you know, obvious that I'm trying to build a team of people who are as passionate about this as I am. And like you said, you are building this community of people who are so passionate that they want to then pay it forward. So you're building a community of leaders. people who are passionate about helping others, people who have a really strong vision and goal for themselves and their family and their future, that they see this business opportunity as like an avenue to get them to that goal.
Absolutely.
That's my team is named Team Liberate, and everybody on this call probably knows that stems from freedom. And whatever kind of whatever freedom looks like for you, for yourself, for your family, for your life, like this is your ticket to get there. Whether it's to lose 100 pounds or it's to stay home with your kids and not have to go back to teaching like me. But kind of using this as a tool to gain whatever freedom it is that you need or want in your life.
Absolutely. I love that. And it's clear that like you've thought about this.
Yeah. Yes.
Which is really important, right? So if people, I know some people might just be shy about sharing, but also it might just be like, no one's like, some people haven't thought about that before. So think about that and actually, write it down. Like what are you trying to build? What does your tribe look like? What does your community look like? What are you actually building? And then are you just kind of like making up something that sounds cool? Or do you actually believe that you can build that and that you can also have, a thriving and sustainable team? So one thing that can be great, like I would recommend, doing that activity for yourself and having that reflection and, and writing down a vision of what kind of team you're trying to build. And then from that, put together some affirmations about what your team is going to look like and who you will, not who you want to, but who you will attract, right? Like who are those people who you are going to attract? Because you don't just want anyone. Right? That's not what's going to build that community. Like you have a vision for your community and you are going to like practice those affirmations and, and put that out there to the universe. And you are going to build that belief that you can do this. Right? So these are like just some examples with things like self-starters, compassionate, driven, optimists, people who will take initiative, but are willing to learn, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? It doesn't need to be all of those things, but I think it is helpful to say those affirmations and to really kind of put it out there that these are qualities that you're looking for and this is the type of community that you're building. And then remind yourself that it takes time, that this all takes time, that, everything in life takes time, right? Everything that's real, anything that's going to be sustainable takes time. And that's just normal and that's just the way it is. And just because you don't have, I felt like I was never going to find any business builders. I was like almost a year in and like, I didn't have I had no one at all. I had no one who, and it wasn't even like I wasn't bringing in people because I was hitting Success Club every month and I, was a diamond coach, but I didn't have anyone. It just seemed like I wasn't going to find anyone who actually wanted to do this with me. Like, how was I ever going to actually get to Star Diamond, or how was I ever going to actually, have a team or have anyone who wanted to run with me, right? But of course, that's when it started to kind of happen. And so just like keep that faith and know that it does take time. But you need to stay consistent and, you need to believe that it will happen, and it will. So how do I do this? Okay, wait. Okay. So empowering leaders. So like I was kind of saying before, your business is really going to only take off when you're not only, signing people up and getting them to join you, right? And kind of like follow you, but when you're actually empowering them to become leaders of their own teams. So it's really important, and I think we all know this because this is what we do as coaches, essentially, right? Is to really be encouraging people and building them up, because not everyone's going to come into this and just be able to run with it and, be a born leader and, all of that, right? So it's really important to be encouraging people, to be building them up, to be shouting out, like not only the people who, are killing it in the business, but also, people who maybe aren't and maybe have further to go, but they're, taking steps to get there and they're growing. And that's really important because they need that cheerleader and they need to know, that you're there to support them. Sometimes you do need to like push people out of the nest a little bit and encourage them to run their own challenge groups. Once you have a couple coaches who are, you know, even if they're not huge runners, I mean, a couple coaches or even one or two coaches, right, who aren't discount coaches, it might be time to start your own team page, or at least to have kind of like a team message thread where you can be communicating directly, like with your personally sponsored coaches, and sharing and having conversations with them, and kind of most importantly, really building those relationships, right? And I think starting to do that really starts to create that mindset shift that you are your own CEO. Because if you're just in your coach's group forever, I mean, it could be great. I mean, I'm still in Marie's group, of course, and we get a lot out of that. But it did really create a shift, you know, for me to kind of go off and to build my own team, right? And for me to actually step up and be a leader to that team. I also think that asking your own team members to be like guest speakers on your calls and do trainings and things like that can kind of help them to build those skills, right? And to build that confidence so that they can go out and start to do that for their own teams also. So empowering people, showing people that they can, helping people to step out of their comfort zones, because that's really what this is all about, right? We are all like bettering ourselves, growing, getting better every day. You know, we don't all have all the answers, but we are failing forward together. And we are all leaders. So I do not think of myself as a leader at all. I have major limiting beliefs around like my leadership skills. And I mean, it's not my skills. It's just that I have fears. You know, I don't like being in front of large groups of people. I don't like public speaking, you know, so all of these things that kind of are like, is like a stereotypical leader, makes me very nervous, you know, quite frankly. Right. And so what I've kind of had to learn is that, you know, leaders can look different. I don't have to be exactly like that, and I don't have to have all of those traits, but we all have our, you know, unique and beautiful gifts to offer. And sometimes things that we perceive as our weaknesses can actually be our greatest strengths. And so, you know, for myself, I think that, you know, I may be like kind of shyer. I may not be like the loudest person in the room, but I can be a really great listener to people, and I can be really supportive to people, and I can be a really good, you know, motivator, and I can be very inclusive in terms of building my team and getting a lot of people, you know, getting other people to step up and to be involved as well. And so I'm, you know, I kind of try to like turn that and see some of these things as strengths as well. And so I encourage you guys all to do that, because I feel like I hear that a lot in Beachbody, is that people are, you know, they're like, they get nervous about the term leadership, and they're like, well, I can't be a leader, and I'm not a leader. And people get very nervous about that. So we are all leaders. All right, guys, we are all leaders. So we need to embrace who we are, like where we are. That doesn't mean that, you know, we can't be bettering ourselves and growing. I mean, in fact, we all need to be doing that, but it can, you know, leaders can look different, right? And people joined your team because they want, because they're attracted to you and what you have to offer, right? And so, you know, it's important, I think, to step up and lead, you know, and lead them in whatever way that looks like to you. You don't have to know all the answers. I think that's something else. Some people are nervous about, you know, starting to train new coaches and to build that team. Especially if they're a newer coach, or they just might be nervous that they can't train people in that way. But you guys, like, we have so many resources out there. It's not hard, you know, to find answers to questions. And that's okay. Like, that is part of being a good leader. I mean, no matter how long you've been doing this, right? It's okay, you know, as a leader or a teacher or anything, to say like that we don't know the answer, but that we'll find it out. And also, you know, help direct them to different resources so that they can also become more resourceful for themselves, right? Because we have so much information between, like, I mean, everywhere, right? All of our like team pages and FAQs and YouTube and this and that, et cetera, et cetera. So there's not a lack of like information and knowledge out there. And I think that just, you know, showing up and sharing with your team that we're all in this together, like that in itself is a big piece of leadership. And that we're all here, like I was saying before, like we're here. You don't need to know the answers to be a leader. You don't need to have all the answers or be a perfect person or be a stereotypical leader. to build a successful team. And that, I mean, I think that's in general, but I also think especially like that's part of the beauty of this business, right? Is we, like anyone can be successful, and we are kind of, we're creating the teams that we have built a vision for. And we don't have all the answers, but we're all going to learn together. We're all going to grow together. We're all going to fail forward. And we're going to learn and better ourselves, together as a team, right? Because it's not just as a leader, it's not about you, right? It's about empowerment, in my opinion. So all of that can be super overwhelming. It was to me. And I think that a lot of coaches go through that when they first start building a team. It's very easy to get overwhelmed, and it's very easy to go into management mode where you're just training and supporting your team all the time. And I know that like that definitely did happen to me. And so my advice on that, would be to really set up a clear schedule and make lists and stick to it, because otherwise, people are going to be asking you a lot of questions, and you need to be motivating them. And, it's easy to get caught up in all of that and be like motivating and like, getting people to like, did you invite today? And da, 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 and all of this, and then like kind of fall off of your own business. So it's very important to make sure that you set that time aside. And I had always heard that before I really built a team, and I never really understood it, honestly, to the full extent until I had a team of my own. And then I was like, oh my gosh, because that can easily, you can do that full time, right? You can easily like be like managing people or just like supporting people and motivating and training. That in itself can easily be a full-time thing, right? So you have to set that time aside so that you're not only focusing, you do have to focus on your team, but you do also have to, focus on kind of building your own business and making sure that you're not only like telling them to reach Success Club or telling them to send their invites, but you're also doing it yourself, right? Because that's also a huge part of it is setting the example. So I think making lists and taking action is really important. I think, often when people get overwhelmed, it's easy to kind of freeze up or to just get too stressed out about it. So I think that, key is really making clear lists and then taking action on those lists. And you don't have to do everything in one day, right? So you don't have to train all your coaches in one day and answer every question. And so it's really important just to actually write that down. And what I've started doing is there's like a free scheduler for calls. It's called Acuity. And so you can actually put in your own availability for call times, and you can send the link to your team so they can just plug in and set up one-on-one calls for you whenever, when you're based around your availability. And that's a much easier way. It also saves time versus like all of the back and forth and trying to like coordinate and set up a time and et cetera, et cetera. And then start a team call. Like if you have one coach, if you have two coaches, start a team call. I mean, I know it's easier to be on Brooke's call and all of that. And I know there are already so many calls. Like sometimes I feel like, do my coaches really need like another call, because we have calls all the time and we have so much information. But it's really important, not just for them to hear from me, but for them to hear from each other and for us to come together and like have that space as a team. So I really encourage you guys to do that. And then again, like control the controllable. You can't do everything at once. So stick to the things that you can control and just don't get overwhelmed. Brooke, how are we doing on time? I know I'm like getting a little long.
No, it's good.
Is it okay? Okay. And have fun with it. So, I think that a lot of what probably attracted us to this business is not the only thing, right? But part of it is the fact that it is really fun. Like there is an amazing energy and so much positivity and excitement, kind of around the coaching community and, around our challenge groups. And so we need to keep it fun. Like it's very easy, I think as we kind of get more into the business and we're trying to meet certain goals and we're trying to build a team and we're trying to motivate other, our coaches and stuff to kind of start to get caught up in the numbers and, in rank advancements and in, you know, hitting legend and getting elite points, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm not saying that it's not important, but we have to remember like why we started. We have to have fun with this, because if we're not having fun, no one else is going to have fun. And I don't just mean on social media, but I mean like with your team, right? You need to keep it fun for them. Like, who wants to stick around if it's not, I mean, if your upline coach is miserable or like super stressed out and overwhelmed all the time and not having fun with what they're doing, like, why would you, you know, like, you're not going to want to stick around with it. Right. So make it fun, make it enjoyable, and share that with your coaches. We're so fortunate to get to do this. And I think we all know that, but sometimes, you know, again, when we get stressed out, we can kind of start to forget these things. So we're really fortunate to get to do this as our jobs, to get to build our own teams, which is essentially like bringing in our own, you know, like building like a family, right? Like, these are friendships that we're going to have for life. And it's just amazing. Like, the friendships that I've made through this experience, I mean, are incredible. Like, they're my closest friends. So really fall in love with it and practice gratitude and remind yourself every day, like, how lucky you are, because, you know, you're here because you did love it, or because, I mean, I'm not saying you don't love it, but just for, you know, I'm just saying, like, make sure that you continue to practice gratitude and not get caught up in just like the work aspect. Make sure that you keep it fun. And then share that passion and excitement, right? Share that with your team, and show your team like how much is possible in this business, how amazing it is. And not only share with them, but also show them what's possible. And so that means, like I was saying, like, show up and lead by example, because it is very easy to kind of fall into this like mode of just like motivating people all the time and doing a lot of trainings, and then kind of letting your own business, you know, go off to the side a little bit. So, I mean, we have the ability to create the lives that we want to live, and lives that we love, like, not only for ourselves, but for our family, for our children, you know, and we have the ability not just to do it as individuals, but together as a team, right? Like, we're all so much stronger when we can work together, and we can help each other, you know, to build this, and we can just go so much further, right? So, and we can help each other, we can challenge each other, we can push past fears together. So it's really important, I think, you know, to have that team aspect, and to remember, like, you're not doing this alone, you know, to really get people involved. A lot of the stuff I already kind of said, but the team culture, I think, is really, really key. So it's not just about like training coaches and making sure that they know what to do, but you really want everyone to be connecting on a regular basis. And this is a relationship business, right? And you are like building a family, and you're building a community. So make sure that that's actually, you know, happening. If you do start like your own team page, like, show up in there, make sure that you're in there, make sure that you're responding to people's questions, and make sure that you are like facilitating conversation and engagement, so that people, you know, it's not just you with others, but that everyone is kind of coming together. So we're starting like accountability and success partners on our teams. We're kind of pairing people up so that they're going to be able to work more closely together, because we all kind of like support each other and cheer each other on, and random people do different like power hours together sometimes. But I think that this will help even more, and also kind of make, you know, some of those relationships like even tighter. And it's about like all of the coaches in your downline. It's not only your personally sponsored coaches. So that's the other thing, is like, you start building a team, and then you have all your coaches to train, but then you have coaches who start bringing on coaches, and then you have coaches who start bringing on coaches who start bringing on coaches. And that can be very, I mean, it's exciting. I know, like, we all want that, but it is also very overwhelming, and things can start to feel like a little out of your control, right? You're like, oh my gosh, but now there are all these new people that are like 3 levels down, and are they getting the training? And, you know, do they know all of these things, right? So, so making sure that you're building those relationships too. So like, I still, because, you know, we're trying to empower people to be leaders. So I definitely encourage my coaches, you know, to do their own getting started right calls, and train their coaches. If they're new, I do offer to be on them if they want me to be, but I definitely don't need to be. but I still reach out to every new coach who joins the team. Even if it's, you know, like a coach's coach or something, right? I'll always like reach out in a personal message and actually welcome them and let them know that like that line of communication is completely open, you know, and I'm always there to support them. And like, we can have, you know, we can have our relationship as well. Like, of course, their coach is going to be there and be supporting them, but I'm also, you know, there to be available for them. And I just want to make sure that they, you know, that they know that, so that they are supported, and they make sure that they have what they need in this journey, right? Never exclude anyone, obviously, and, you know, keep things positive. And yeah, like I've said, you know, a team page, having that team message thread, that's, you know, your forum for your community. So even if your coaches are on Brooke's page, and you guys are, you know, interacting and building that community, it's still, you know, you can kind of connect on a different level sometimes, I think, if you break off. And I'm not like encourage everyone to break off, but I'm just saying, like, at a certain point, like, that does help with leadership and with kind of, and with strengthening, you know, your skills and the ability, like, for your own coaches to kind of be empowered and start to lead as well. Okay. I'm almost done. So training, you know, of course, like having fun, giving the support, giving the motivation, empowering everyone, all of these things are absolutely critical in terms of, you know, building the business and building a community. But people also do have to have clear and simple training so that they actually know what to do, right? So I'm not going to get into like a lot of detail on all of the training steps, but I think it's always important, you know, to have clear steps and to have a clear onboarding process that is not super complicated, so that you do know not only how you're going to be training your new coaches, but you can train your coaches on how to train their new coaches, right? Because that's how duplication happens, and that's how things kind of don't get lost along the way. And invest time. I mean, sometimes I feel like, I don't want to say I invest too much time. I mean, I love it, but I know like some people are like, well, we need to streamline and maybe just do a video. But I think it's really important to really invest that time and build that deep relationship, and, you know, and have those one-on-one calls versus like just doing a getting started right video or something. I mean, I know there does need to be some streamlining, especially like as teams, you know, really grow. But I think it's so important, you know, to actually invest that time and really, really build those relationships. And, you know, recognition, of course, it's one of the 4 vitals. It's essential. And, you know, it helps people, to kind of start to step up and to build their own skills. And I find that, voice messaging actually can help a lot. Like, I do a lot of voice messaging with my coaches. And yeah, the back and forth, you know, can take some time, having that one-on-one back and forth, but it's also sometimes, you know, more efficient than setting up like a whole hour or like half an hour call to check in. And I think it really helps to build that, that personal relationship and that one-on-one relationship, because you want to be doing both. Like, you want to, of course, be building like that community forum and having everyone, you know, interact and connect, but you also, I think, want to be building those one-on-one relationships. This is my last slide. These are kind of general closing thoughts, you know, on the leadership, but also just in general. Like, make sure that you believe that you are in it to win it, that quitting is not an option. Because I really strongly believe, like, coaches who come in who are like, I'm going to kind of test this out, and if it doesn't work, I'm going to quit. It just totally changes the way that you approach everything. And you kind of never go, you know, people don't really go all in. There's always kind of one foot out. There's always that option. And that's, you know, really going to affect. So just don't do that. Like, just quitting is not an option. Like, you're going to do this. It doesn't matter who you are, all these excuses that you tell yourself or limiting beliefs. Like, anyone can build this business. We can all build this business as different as we all are from one another. You know, with that consistency, with the heart, with really building those meaningful relationships, like, we can all do this. We can all take this anywhere we want to go. And it doesn't matter how fast you're going. So don't compare yourself to others and their pace, but at the same time, you know, be real with yourself and set those goals. And when you're not meeting those goals or taking the steps to meet those goals, you know, call yourself out on it too, right? Because we all sometimes need to recognize our own BS. And sometimes we need to reassess and take action and take responsibility that we're not doing what we need to do. And I think that's a big part of leadership as well. You know, and really pour your heart into your team. And, you know, you want to help them reach their goals, but at the same, I mean, it's again, it's very much a team thing. Like, you're there to help them reach their goals, but like, they're also there, we are a team. So they're also there to help, you know, kind of the team reach their goals. So I think it is important, you know, if you're going for a 2-star qualification or 5-star qualification or whatever kind of qualification it is, to kind of talk to the team about that so that everyone can come together and work on that goal together. So then it's not just individuals kind of pushing for diamond, but it's everyone pushing for diamond. You know, it's like everyone pushing for diamond together, those kinds of things. And there's got to be balance, you know, definitely as you start to build a team, the balance between the management and taking care of, you know, kind of your own business and bringing in new challengers and coaches yourself. But I mean, balance in general, right? No matter where you are in the business, if you're a brand new coach, balance is so essential so that we don't get burned out, because it's an awesome business, but sometimes it can be really hard also working for ourselves and not, you know, not setting those boundaries. And the fact that we can like work from anywhere and work on our phone is amazing, but that can also be a big challenge because you can work from anywhere and you can work all the time. And so it is really important, I think, you know, just to always set those boundaries, to have that balance, to stick to a schedule, and have that healthy work and life balance.
Yay. Thanks.
It's so hot in here.
Are you dying?
I'm dying, but the air conditioner is so loud, so I'll leave it off for a little longer.
Well, we're almost done anyway. I just wanted to say that was absolutely amazing. I really appreciate you taking the time to not only speak to us, but also clearly you did your homework ahead of time in preparation with your PowerPoint. Definitely save that because this is for sure a call you can do again and again. It's just funny that you know, a couple of things that I, you know, recognized, especially at the end, was where you said, you know, sharing with your team about your goals. Like, I think it was maybe a week or two ago, I did like this 15-minute live in our team page about how my goal for us is to be a 5-star elite team by the end of the year. So it's just funny that you say that because that's exactly what we did. And, you know, truly it's my goal for our team,
right? But
I literally can't get there by myself. You know, it's truly, truly, truly a team effort. So yeah, that was just kind of, I really appreciated that you said that. And balance is really, really, really hard for me. I know it's hard for a lot of us. It's like really hard for me. So that's something I am working to do. It's, you know, it's easy to kind of get sucked in, and, you know, I suck at going to bed on time because I just kind of like get sucked into like doing more and wanting to do more and prepping more, you know, and so but then I have to wake up when I have to wake up to get my workout done. So it's like what gets the short end of the stick is me and my sleep, you know. So I'm sure a lot of us could relate to a lot of these things, and especially as, you know, a lot of us on this call have been a coach for a while now and are starting to think about like that next step and creating a team of our team culture and a team of our own. There were some really awesome tips and things on here for us. So I appreciate you taking the time to share with us. Does anybody have any questions or anything to share? I don't want to forget to take a picture. So why don't we take a picture? Do you mind, Michelle, if we think of questions or, you know, things to reach out to you?
Of course, please.
Okay, hold on. I have to put on my sweatshirt.
I need a picture too. Oh yeah, you need your sweatshirt.
P.S. for anybody, let me see if I can show you. So the ring light, I know I've posted about the ring light, awesome ring light. I use it in my basement downstairs. So it's just a pain in the ass to bring it upstairs for like calls and stuff. So I got the, oops, I don't know if it works. I got the, can you see it?
Yes.
It's
your cute dog.
It's the, oh, thanks. He's my baby. It's the travel version. And so I'm just leaving that in my office. So just wanted to share that. It's awesome. It's like $20, but it's,
oh, nice.
I'm using it, so I'm loving it. So, yeah. Okay. So let's take a picture. All right. I'm going to put this down. Hold on. Okay. All right. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Cool. So, thanks again, Michelle. If we have any questions, we will for sure reach out, and I can send you this recording if you want it to share with your team too.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys.
All right. Thank you. I'll talk to you guys later.
Have a great night.
Bye.